Today we're going to talk about the AI agents. They've been around for a while, and there's been a lot of controversy about them. Some say that's the future of the technology. Some say that's another hype. We've been through both. Let's see what exactly is under the hood. So, today we are going to look at a couple of topics. First, we'll see how those agents, why we are talking about those agents today, how they made so much hype. We'll see what are the most common use cases across a couple of industries, such as finance, healthcare, and logistics. Obviously, there are more, but we hope that these use cases would cover um, interesting enough use cases and interesting enough technologies for other industries and other domains as well. Then we'll spend a few minutes talking about the technical part. Obviously, that's a business-focused webinar, but it's quite hard to talk about the technology without diving into the technology. And it is important to understand how those agents actually work, to understand their limitations as well, and to be able to tell apart the hype and the signal, so to say. And if there's one single thing that we want to deliver at the end of this webinar is to make sure that each of you could tell apart the hype versus the signal in all this agentic world. Finally, we'll tell a few words about the problems, technical problems, inherited problems that agentic systems have. We can't overcome them. They come from mathematics, from the nature of those agents, and hopefully we'll be able to show you why those agents will not replace, each and every one of us anytime soon. That should also comfort us a little bit closer to the end of the webinar. And also, we'll share a few rule of thumbs and best practices that we encountered during all those projects and agentic initiatives that we applied across our own company as well as for our customers. So let's get started. Also, we have the Q&A rather section. So if you have any question and you want to drop this question right at me, please do use the Q&A in Zoom. That's a separate tab that you can find whether below or above, depending on where is your panel, where is your Zoom panel exactly. So should you have any questions, ideas, whatever you want to ask, just drop this line into this Q&A section, and I will address all the questions at the end of the webinar. A few words about myself. As one of our leaders says, my favorite topic. I've been involved with AI since 2013, a bit earlier even, so it's approaching 15 years. Over those years, I've built data science departments and service lines for 4 companies, including $1 billion company, which is now 10 plus thousand people. And the data science departments that I've built over those years, they are alive and well. They are functioning and they are profitable. I've been also vice president of data science for the startup company called Shelpuk.io, and we raised 52.5 million US dollars in stage B funding in 2021. I've co-founded an AI product and biopharma R&D company, which was also VC funded. And my background, I have kind of 2 backgrounds. One is the business from the London School of Economics, and I also studied artificial intelligence at Stanford more than 10 years ago at the graduate program. And now a few words about Adventis as well. We are a software engineering and consulting company. So we do custom software development, and we've been doing that for more than 20 years. We have more than 400 employees scattered across mostly Europe. And over those years, we delivered more than 400 various projects. Currently, we have more than 40 active clients, and also we have a number of industry recognitions. So that's about Adventis. And we hope that we'll be able to help you with whatever needs or questions you might have with respect to AI as well as the conventional software development. At the end of this session, of this webinar, you'll have the slides. So everything that I'm sharing with you today, you'll have also as a separate artifact, as a separate document. And also, we are glad to offer you an AI consultation, a chance to talk to us about any AI needs or questions or issues that you might have. So all participants will have an opportunity to schedule such a consultation. All right, that's it. Let's get started with the agents themselves. I'd like to start with this short question just to adjust my my narrative to what you guys expect. Please rank how familiar you are with AI agents on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 means I never heard about them, and 10 means we are quite comfortable with the agents and we already apply them across our businesses or companies. So I'll give you a few seconds to click that button, and then my team will show us the distribution. Super. All right, that's the distribution. In case you can't see it, or in case you need me to restate it for the record, for the record, we have the distribution between 2 and 8. We have mostly people clustered around scores from 2 to 6. And also we have three people, three companies perhaps, that ranked their own experience with AI agents at 8, which is wonderful. That means we have present companies which have their own experience with agentic systems. So super glad you are here with us today, guys. Both those, I mean, all of those who ranked their expertise as low and also ranked their expertise as high, especially those who ranked their expertise as 8, please do share your thoughts in the chat section or maybe in the Q&A. That would be super valuable for us as well. So please, if you like, if you could share your experience with the rest of the participants as well, I guess we'll all benefit from that. Right. Now, jumping to straight to the agents, we've seen a bunch of the information flow and hype running at us from all the outlets, including the most reputable ones, such as again Forbes, The Economist, Bloomberg, all mentioning how the agents is the future of the workforce, how they're going to replace us. Obviously, software engineers should be replaced first. CEOs probably are going to be replaced right after software engineers. So we've heard lots of these things, and it's quite hard to uh, tell apart what's right, what's wrong about it. Honestly, even though I've been in this field for more than 10 years, it feels overwhelming even for me. I can hardly imagine how it feels for those who were not, uh, who were with AI for not that long, for example, or who were not from the AI in general. So today, I hope I can shed some light on what's real, what's less real, and also hopefully on how soon it could be expected to get replaced with an agent. Um, there's been a mass job displacement fears with the rise of agentic systems. Some companies announced layoffs with the aspiration to replace those laid off workforce with agents. I'm not gonna tell names, but I'm pretty sure you know all those names, right? Some of those who laid off their workforce early now are hiring those people back after the attempt of replacing, especially the engineers with agents. So sometimes it's just harder to do than it appears. And at some point, we all learned that agents are great at some tasks, but they still need oversight. So now the mood and the tendency shifts from we are going to replace you all with the agents towards how can we make you more productive with the agents, which is a much more healthier approach, I guess. And also one of the hype, one of the most destructive message that runs at us from every outlet is all those benchmarks. Like AI systems now outcompete human engineers on certain benchmarks. All it is good and well, but I just want to point you at the fact that AI systems, computer vision systems, as we call them, outperform rentgenologists on various X-ray, CT scan analysis tasks since 2017. So it's been for 7 years, 7 or 8 years already. And still, rentgenologists are among 10 most in-demand healthcare professions in the US with crazy salaries. So the fact that AI systems outperform you at certain tasks doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to automate you at once. So that's the take that I want to give you with respect to job replacement debate, and especially with respect to evaluating the benchmark performance of all those AI systems. All right. So at some point, it became clear that agentic and AI systems in general could dramatically improve the performance of those people of the workforce effectively. Yes, we can get senior software engineer getting 3x more productive with those AI tools. But that requires practices and guardrails. If you just throw, AI code into your code base, does it necessarily get better? You might get faster at generating junk code, but Does your product and does your code bit actually getting better? Not sure about it. Same with the finance, for example. Yes, you can apply AI system for wide screening and applying those value investment popularized by Warren Buffett and others. But do you really want those systems to manage your portfolio? Do you really want the system to manage your fund? I'm not sure about it. So you still need a human oversight. You still need someone, some engineer looking after the code that the system generates and narrowing down the scope of the system's effort. And you still need this portfolio manager, financial manager, looking at what the system does. Yes, reading out all those fundamentals and analysis presented by the system is great, but I'd say that we still need a human being to judge on the critical decisions, such as, critical code changes and up to funding allocation, not to mention the healthcare application, which is a whole different animal in itself. Now, I'd like to tell you a few, I'd like to start, rather dive into the next layer by providing you a few successful applications, few successful AI systems and companies that actually do apply those things properly across three different industries. One is going to be finance, another is going to be logistics, and the third one is going to be healthcare. So let's start with finance. There are four use cases that we'd like to tell you about. And I just want to make a disclaimer that none of these companies, none of these products that I'm going to mention have anything to do with us. We are not their partners, we are not their resellers, and it's a good faith feedback, meaning no one pays us for any promotion, stuff like that. So all the products and companies I'm going to mention, they've been mentioned just because of their virtue. They're really doing a good job. All right, so speaking of the finance, let's start with the algorithmic trading. Again, we have multiple things here. We have the whole spectrum, starting with the value investment, meaning you are trying to identify the assets which is underappreciated, companies which sell under their market price. What is the market price? Big question mark. But thankfully to Berkshire Hathaway and other companies, we have all those books on the value investment, and we have practices for how we estimate the fair market price. And in that area, we have products and companies such as, for commercial products, right? Such as TradeStation, for example, right? That's a well-known platform offering proprietary programming language for creating trading strategies. Right now, they moved into agentic systems. It allows for backtesting and automated execution, for example, where agent operates based on predefined rules and market conditions. So you can see the trend, right? It's not like you say, hey, agent, make me $5 million. Instead, it says you can make your own strategies more effective by applying those agentic systems for you. They can crunch the numbers, they can crunch the data, but still you are in charge. You still make them work. Quant Connect is an interesting application, and it is both the commercial and open source. So you could have both depending on what's your priorities. Effectively, it's an algorithmic trading platform, low level, so you need an engineer to make it work for you. But it's very flexible. It supports various connectors and applications. You can do lots of custom agentic development with the Quant Connect. Hummingbird is completely open source. That's a modular framework for building high-frequency cryptocurrency trading. So if you're looking at this modern markets, if you're looking at adding crypto assets to your overall portfolio, that might be for you. Now, automated auditing. What is it? What is it all about? If you're a fund, if you're a VC fund, for example, or any other financial institution, you typically you have a fair amount of effort going into auditing all those companies you invest. You need to take their balance sheets. You need to make sure that all those numbers in the balance sheets actually correspond to those numbers in the financial statements. So lots of stuff to do, really. And this stuff is quite boring. You need really to read through multiple documents and match the numbers. That's basically it. So auditing is not particularly intelligently intensive task. It takes lots of attention to details, but does it really require lots of creative effort? Not so much. And we have wonderful commercial products that automate that. You can look, if you are into that, if you are concerned about automated auditing, you can look at Trulion. For example, this is the software that maps and finds those fields in different documents. It allows you to make sure that the numbers in effectively one financial document is supported by the numbers in the other financial documents. So that's effectively the thing. We also have the audit board. That's the competitor effectively of Trulion. It automates many parts of the internal audit and compliance workflow. The system could act as as agentic multi-agent system to continuously monitor, control, flag risks from transactional data, even like automated evidence collection, other things that deal with the real-time analysis. Mind breach would be another example for financial market that automates the accounting. Now, fraud detection. Obviously, fraud detection applies not only for financial markets and financial companies, but also, say, for telecommunication, other things. But effectively, it's the same idea, right? We used that before. We did that before with conventional AI. We need someone to look at what's going on in our system, in our portfolio, in our account, and flag something that looks unusual. We've done that with the anomaly detection systems before, and these days we have agentic systems as well. These would be SIFT, that uses, say, a global network of data to create they call it, I guess, digital trust and safety suite. And their AI agents, they have multiple, they analyze thousands of signals in real time. So they help you score the risk of transaction. You can configure it also, it's quite flexible to autonomously block those orders, transactions, your login attempt, payments, everything that deals with the financial side. We have also Sion. It's another commercial system that provides real-time digital footprint analysis. It is also agentic, and these agents like they like they screen all this information like email address, phone number, to gather data from various online sources, including the social sources. And this data is used to assess the risk level of a user transaction and automate decision on whether to approve, review, or block it. And finally, credit assessment. It's primarily about the financial companies, but we have different financial companies of different complexity, right? We have sophisticated banks and we have credit unions. They have different needs for credit assessments, but still. So for credit assessment, we have in the ecosystem today, we have companies and products like Zest AI, we have Upstart, and they are both commercial. They both do the same thing. They try to estimate how likely, how risky is the specific loan application or credit application. So that's about the finance. Logistics. All this is very fluid. What I'm talking to you, what I'm explaining to you today probably is going to be outdated in 6 to 12 months because the whole technology is emergent, right? Everything is moving very fast. But still, with logistics, we have demand forecasting, warehouse automation, dynamic route optimization, and end-to-end visibility. And there are agentic systems for all of them. For just a few examples for these applications, we have Relax solutions, I guess like Rolex, but Relax solutions, which automates supply chain and retail planning, even with the AI agents, including AI agents and machine learning capabilities. They focus on demand forecasting. So the point is to get as much data as you can, and using historical data, train those various machine learning models that agents then apply to your future data. So effectively, is kind of the blend between the conventional machine learning. They still train those models, plus the agentic systems that then use and utilize those models. Very well. Then say warehouse automation. Let's take a look at the warehouse automation. For example, we've seen a system called Symbiotic for warehouse automation. That's that's an automation solution that deals with robots, right? So robotic systems, they use SymBots orchestrated by the advanced AI software platform. Effectively, that's their value proposition. And the agentic part of that system manages the entire system from the, say, high density storage structure to the inbound and outbound flow of goods, real-time decision support rather, speed and efficiency optimization, all that is in there. So we see, hopefully these applications, these use cases show you how all those companies across different industries apply those agentic systems. None of them actually automate the entire function. None of them say like, we will automate the entire warehouse automation with AI agents. No, no, no. They have those agents, and those agents interact with a very specific narrow set of tools, augmenting the human decision making. And humans are still in charge. They still confirm those decisions. They still do the oversight across those decisions. The agents effectively just crunch the numbers or a large amount of data. Just like with the auditing for the financial institutions, if you have tons of data, those systems, agents, LLMs, they are quite good at crunching data for you. And if the task is not particularly intelligent, but involves lots of data crunching and attention to detail, that's a sweet spot for agentic application. Finally, interestingly, for those of you who are looking at the open source options, another pattern that we see quite often is building the custom agentic capabilities for the open source systems. So the open source system itself doesn't support agentic capabilities, but it supports rich APIs and integration capabilities, allowing us, us like the software development company, to build those agentic capabilities and inject them into the open source solution. The example would be the Odoo. Probably you've heard about that. That's the open source ERP system. Whether you ever wondered about how can I replace Salesforce or stuff like that, probably you've looked at Odoo. Odoo doesn't have the agentic capabilities per se, but it's very flexible and very customizable. It provides lots of interfaces, and well, companies like ours, and probably yours as well, could build those agentic systems and inject them into these open source platforms like Odoo. So that's another pattern. If you are heavily into the open source, you shouldn't necessarily look into the open source solutions that already have the agentic capabilities. Look at those that provide you with the rich integration interfaces and build those agentic capabilities yourself. Finally, healthcare. Now, well, I'm physically in Europe, in Warsaw, Poland, and I'm quite well connected, and I'm heavily involved with the German institutions. And regulation in Europe is quite extensive with respect to healthcare, and Germany probably is the most extensive example of the regulation in healthcare. So whenever we talk about AI agents in healthcare, that would be the least developed area, again, primarily because of the regulation, at least in Europe, in the EU. And still we have something even there, which hopefully demonstrates the value. If there are companies delivering AI agentic systems for healthcare, especially in Europe, that means there should be something there for sure. Otherwise, you wouldn't go through all these compliance audits and other crazy stuff. So, for example, in healthcare, for the diagnostic support, we have providers such as Viz.ai, that's a commercial system. And this is an example of AI-powered care coordination. It's agentic, so there's multiple agents there. And they are designed to analyze medical images, other medical data in real time, and provide you with the short outcome, short summary. Effectively, they write the report for you based on the medical data. Obviously, the medical doctor needs to confirm all this information and make sure that everything is correct. But it helps. It helps with analyzing tons of data and making sure that we allocate the precious time of the medical doctors effectively. For the clinical decision support, for example, we have, well, obviously IBM Watson is, it used to be a household name. Not sure if it's still there. Now it is called Merative, right? Merative, they acquired IBM Watson Health. But they're still there. They're still there. They're still trying to apply Watson's idea for clinical decision support, analyze patient medical information, mostly notes, so mostly dealing with the text. It also still, IBM Watson was famous for having connections with all those databases and data sets. Think about PubMed, ClinVar for genetic data, other things. So it's still there, and they're still doing that, but now with the agents. Effectively, they not exactly pivoted, but included agentic capabilities in what used to be IBM Watson Health. And with the administrative automation, that is the area that requires the least compliance and that is regulated least heavily, perhaps. So we have more projects and more products there. That would include, for example, Olive. That's a commercial, although the company has pivoted as far as I remember, Olive, right? Um, it's been the idea was to for Olive for the startup was to build an AI employee for healthcare. So they wanted to automate high volume, repetitive administrative tasks. Think all this prior authorization process that requires going through tons of patient data from the EHR system, submitting the request to the payers portal, checking the status, updating the status of all this data in various payer portals and others, stuff like that. So that was their mission. Again, the field is very fluid, so they've pivoted recently. They're kind of still a little bit under the radar. Maybe they're doing something else, but that was their original aspiration. We also have other things like Notable, for example, that is the digital assistant to automate administrative and clinical workflows. You kind of see the idea, right? Olive tried to automate it completely. Notable decided to build the assistant, and from what I know, from what I'm here at least, Notable is doing fairly well as for a startup. Now, what are those agents? So what are we talking about really? Who is the agent? Effectively, the agent is the LLM system connected to the world. The LLM itself is just a text generation machine, but you connect this machine to the outside world in two ways. You can channel the information from the world to the LLM, and you can also allow the LLM to make intervention into the world, so to say. And this is what makes the agent effectively. This is the LLM that can perceive the world and that can act against the world. So that effectively is the agent, right? The agent is just the LLM with the sensors and with the tools. Now, there are two types of agent or agentic initiatives, so to say, as defined by, I guess, Gartner. If I remember, it was Gartner's definition. So what they say is that you can you can have your AI agentic initiatives either horizontally or vertically. By horizontally, I mean something that is widely applicable, like summarizing your emails, right? Summarizing emails could add value to every function of yours, whether it's marketing, sales, research and development, production, you name it. But the value of these widely applicable tools, it's sort of limited, which is kind of makes sense, right? If you have something that is widely applicable across various functions, that means it can only bring so much value to every function. And as an alternative, or as a contrast rather, they suggest the vertical agentic initiatives, meaning we focus on one specific function. We'd like to bring value to, say, marketing or to, say, support with the AI agentic systems. And now we don't care about the other functions. We only care about this particular function. So we want to customize and adjust those agentic systems as much as we can to the specific function. And that's the main difference. The horizontal agents is kind of a low-hanging fruits. They are fairly easy to build. They are fairly easy to roll out, and it's more like low risk, low reward area. Good place to start, right? If you need a quick win with the agentic system, think about this horizontal initiative. Widely applicable, meaning if you aim 5 or 6 functions at once, chances are at least in one function it will give roots. Alternatively, if you're looking at something which is high risk, high reward, well, maybe you have 5 agentic initiatives across your company, and you are willing to make one of them high risk, high reward. Look at something that is function specific. Look at the function that maybe would benefit the most from some automation, and try to build a system that is designed specifically for that function. It won't be applicable for other functions. If it fails with this function, then it fails altogether. But if it works, then it yields great dramatic changes. This is the high risk, high reward territory. It is kind of helpful if you manage not just one AI initiative, but the portfolio of AI initiatives, and you want to think about managing that portfolio, right? How many of those initiatives you want to be low risk, low reward? how many of those you want to have high risk, high reward. This framework kind of helps in that sense of managing your AI initiative portfolio. Now, I promised you a few words about a few technical words. I know that's boring for most of you, so I'm going to be brief. What are those agents? How they actually, well, how they emerged, how they work? At the early days of ChatGPT, people noticed that you can pass to ChatGPT the question or the text like this. Just the text, right? You can do that on your own. You are presented with the user request and functions. Your task is to respond with the function name that should be used to complete this task or none if no function is required. And the request might be something like this: what is the weather in Würzburg today? And you'll say the functions are get time that returns the current time, get weather that returns the current weather, and get currency that converts the currency pair. If you go with the text to ChatGPT, the ChatGPT gives you this. And that was the early days of ChatGPT, right? We didn't have any concept of functions. People just noticed that you can do stuff like that. And it's been like, gee, that's funny. So this chat could not only answer your questions, it could actually pick up the right function for you. And that idea extended into what we call today the tools or functions. Today, although it's still a text, but this text now becomes a part of the specific structure that is automatically passed. And instead of the chat GPT or any other chat giving you the name of the function, it just becomes a part of the response. If you look at the response structure today with the LLM or the chat product that supports function calling, then you'll see something like this. You'll have the AI message with the field like tool calls. It will have the tool name and the arguments. So that's it. That's really it. The agent is just the LLM with function calling, nothing else. Nothing else. Now, having this in mind, we should also consider what I mean. What might go wrong with this? Having this, right? What might go wrong with the agentic tools? Um, well, on the one side, these agents, these agentic tools could have a very rich set of tools. Effectively, since the LLM just gives you the name of the function and also the attributes of this function, that could run any function at all. That could be a RESTful API, that could be a database query, and you can write your own custom functions. Just explain what it does to your LLM, explain what attributes it takes, and well, the LLM could use it. So it's incredibly flexible on one side, right? But this flexibility creates kind of the illusion that you can have those agents with any function at all. You can write lots of functions, and those agents would orchestrate those functions seemingly and will automate tons of stuff. In effect, that doesn't work like that because the agents accumulate error. This is that mathematical nature of those agents that I mentioned, and there's just no way around it, at least in the current design, in the current set. What do I mean? Consider 5 agents stacked in a chain, like this one. Say every individual agent is 90% reliable, by which I mean that 9 out of 10 times this individual LLM gives you the result that is meaningful. The 1 out of 10 would be just garbage or wrong or something like that, which is quite good. If you ever applied LLMs to complex tasks, and we did, for example, we applied those agents to bioinformatics. If you ever been with bioinformatics, you can appreciate the challenge, right? So 9 out of 10 is quite a remarkable result. But if you chain them together, meaning the value comes not from one agent but from the entire chain, then each of them gives you 9 out of 10. Let's call it accuracy, let's call it reliability, whatever. And if you do the math, that will give you the reliability of the entire chain like 0.5, 0.9 to the power of 5, which would be 59% reliable. So that's the thing. That's the problem with the error accumulation. Although each individual agent could be quite reliable, the whole chain would be only 60% reliable. And 60% reliable is dangerously close to the coin toss. You probably won't allow any business critical decision in your company by tossing a coin, although some company did. Google, namely, they hide by, okay, never mind. Right. So that's the thing. These agents accumulate error, and there is no way around it. If you chain them together, the error accumulates, and you can only really execute complex use cases by stacking those agents, by chaining those agents. So there's no way around this error accumulation. You can fix it, you can improve it, but it's just the nature. It's just the nature of these systems. Now you can say, we don't have to do chains, we can do stars or graphs like this. It is still fine, and it's fair, it's better, much better if the value comes from the orchestrator agent, such as this one, called orchestrator agent, and it's kind of assigns the tasks across various other agents. That means maybe the actual chain could only be 2 agents long, let's say this way, in some cases. But if the task requires the execution of multiple of those agents, then if one agent makes a mistake in 10% of the cases, the probability that at least one of them will fail is going to be like this, 40%. So although now we don't have the chains effectively, but if the orchestrator manages those calls over and over again, then again, some of those agents is likely to make a mistake. And the question now becomes how critical that mistake is, which gives us, which explains to us why some industries and some functions are so successful with AI agents, while others not so much. If you are doing, say, outreach or any other marketing activities, the fact that you didn't reach out to, say, certain promising lead doesn't mean much to you. You still could reach out to others promising leads. So, well, missing a lead is not necessarily a terrible thing. It's not a disaster. But you definitely don't want this system to make decisions about your health, right? Or about your finance. Well, if there is a system that is likely to be wrong, at least part of its system is wrong 40% of the time, is that the system that you want to manage your finance? I leave it as a question mark, right? So we all have different risk tolerance, but that's just how it is. All those systems are inherently they're inherently prone to error accumulation one way or the other. We can fix that, and we do fix that by multiple techniques, such as a human in the loop, for example. Meaning, whenever the agent gets, the coordinator, the orchestrator agent gets something, the agent might actually reach out to a human being asking to review what's going on, or asking to confirm the plan, or asking to, well, approve the results. But that means there's no, there is still automation, but we still need a human oversight. That's what I mentioned. The human oversight is the one out of two maybe reliable ways of solving the error accumulation problem. The second way, the second reliable way of solving the error accumulation problem is what we call the intermittent execution. If you have something like code generation, you can generate this. So say those agents generate the code, and at some point you have the code, the current state of the code. You can actually generate this code and see if it works. Maybe run this code against the tests. And if the tests pass, that gives you the code works, obviously the tests pass. That gives you the idea that it's all right. We can move on, and probably we just didn't hit this situation when the error hit us particularly hard. But well, it only works with not necessarily only with the code, but you get the idea, right? Not in every function, not in every industry, you can have intermittent executions. So mostly you need to rely on the human in the loop. That's why we still need humans in those complex agentic systems. And the more complex the system gets, the more human oversight we need. So another thing that we learned from our own experience with agentic systems is that, so you might say, all right, who cares that the agents accumulate the error? We can just just plug all those tools into one individual agent. So, well, we don't need all those chains or stars or graphs or whatever. We can just connect those tools to one agent, right? And we don't need all those things. It has this whole idea has lots of pitfalls, but one individual pitfall that I'd like to articulate is that in our experience with building those agentic systems, again, sometimes for complex industries such as biological research, bioinformatics, these tools and modern LLMs cannot reliably work with more than 3 tools, right? So that restricts you from just connecting lots and tons of tools to an individual LLM and hoping that it's going to be fine. Yes, you this way could reduce the number of elements in the chain or in the graph, but now you're running into the problem that the LLM fails to pick up the right tool. It could execute something which is not applicable, or it could just execute nothing. So that's another problem. And these two problems, they are at the heart of the modern agentic system design. You need to design the individual agents, having no more than 3 tools per agent, and you need to design all those complex systems such that they remain reliable, introducing proper human in the loop interventions. So that's about it. Obviously, we are not the only ones who learned about this fascinating reality of agentic systems. And recently, both Gartner and MIT released reports about the grim future of most of the modern agentic initiatives these days. For example, Gartner predicts that over 40% of agentic AI projects will be cancelled by the end of 2027. MIT goes further, saying that 95% of those AI initiatives and pilots will fail, effectively fail to deliver the value. You can still build something, but it won't deliver the value. There are lots and lots of reasons for that these reports state for why exactly the situation is that grim. Gartner, for example, attribute this number of 40% to the hype. Effectively, it says it's a market environment. It's mostly hype, and also Gartner introduces the definition. The name is agent washing, right? Gartner says that vendors just rebrand existing technologies like chatbots or robotic process automation as agentic without adding any value. So, well, if you already have the RPA product, now you call it agentic, and that's it. So you don't change the product, you don't change the approach, you just suddenly market it differently. So that's one reason for the high expected failure number, as stated by Gartner. And their screening shows that only about 130 of the thousands of vendors claiming to offer agentic AIs are real. So they screen thousands of vendors, Gartner screened thousands of vendors, and they um, only figured 130 of those thousands to be the actual real agentic AI products, while others were mostly, well, rebranded technologies. The MIT, though, the MIT presents an even more dramatic picture. They say that based on their interviews, surveys, and deployment analysis, they found that even currently, 95% of the enterprise AI pilot programs fail, effectively fail to generate measurable financial returns. The systems are still in place. And again, MIT focuses on the enterprise pilots, not the startups, right? Stuff like that. So we are talking about the enterprise here. Um, these high numbers could also be attributed to the enterprises having more money to invest in all those pilots. Well, you might have more pilots effectively. And if you have more pilots of a lower quality, then more of them are going to be failing. Maybe that is because of those budgets that we mostly rechanneled into the agentic AI systems over the last year. Who knows? But that's the outcome of the MIT research. So they say that most of those pilots, AI agentic pilots today, are gonna fail to deliver value, fail to be seen at the P&L statement effectively. Although technically they could still be in place. Now, I'd like to wonder at this point, since we are approaching the end, I just want to share. We only want to share the few final points to you. I wanted to wonder, what is the biggest barrier to adopting AI in your company today? Does it correspond to any of those technical challenges that I mentioned, or is it more in line with Gartner and MIT reports about agent washing, P&L visibility of those initiatives? So pick one or maybe multiple, whether it's a budget limitation, whether it's a lack of in-house expertise, whether it's regulatory or compliance concerns, or whether it's a technology and infrastructure readiness. I'm going to pause here for a second and my team will present the results in a few moments. All right, super. Thanks a lot. These are the numbers. In case you don't see them, we have 33% votes for the budget limitation. So it seems like the technology is still expensive and the budgets are not there. We have 75% staggering for the lack of in-house expertise, which kind of makes sense. You don't want to burn your money on something that is, you don't want to become a part of this 95% MIT bucket that that holds all those initiatives that are seen in the budgets, but not on the P&L. Also, we have 33% for the regulatory or compliance concerns, again, which kind of makes sense if you deal with highly regulated industry like healthcare. I love healthcare, that comes to my mind first, but other industries also well regulated, like aviation, other things. Then yes, regulatory and compliance concerns would definitely impact your AI initiatives. And finally, we have 42% for the technology and infrastructure readiness, which is also there. The whole technology ecosystem is very fluid. Some of those technologies are actually ready, but some are just overhyped. For some of those technologies, they are not yet. I mean, they are functional, they are valuable, but they are not as functional as the companies market them. So yeah, some of those, the technology readiness, infrastructure readiness is a real concern. Super, thank you very much. So just like to stress that lack of in-house expertise still wins in our today's small poll. Now, I just want to share a few best practices for success that we use to get out of this 95% MIT bucket, and we hope that they will be valuable for you as well. Now, first of all, it would be nice if you are running an AI initiative, it would be nice to align these initiatives with the long-term strategic priorities of your own company, which effectively means get buy-in from from your executive boards and CXOs, CEOs in particular. Those that we see, and from what our experience tells us, is that whenever the executive leadership is strongly aligned with the vision of AI first or AI driven company, that actually helps a lot, because although some of those initiatives might fail, this failure is not perceived by the board or by the management as as the disaster in itself. It is perceived as the step towards the grand vision. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. So we need to fail with a couple of initiatives to eventually make the last initiative or the final initiative work. And if your board, if your company in general is aligned with AI first vision, then it definitely helps. Culture transformation. Very interesting. Last week, I spent in Würzburg, Germany, running a workshop for the software development company, building the telecommunication core network, virtual core network on AWS. So it's cloud-based telecommunication core. I've been running a workshop for them for explaining how to use AI tools and products for software development. And one of the messages that I wanted to convey, to deliver, is that developing with AI tools is different from developing without these AI tools. The flow is still there. You can still get the same flow, but it's a different kind of flow. There's a different, you pay attention to different things when you develop software with the AI tools against developing it in a conventional way. Your time is dedicated, is spread differently, is allocated differently. And I strongly suspect that it would be true with every other industry. Meaning, if you are serious about applying AIs or building AI or agentic AIs for your industry, for your company, for your market, for your customers, then this idea that now we should do things differently should be taken seriously. Modern AI does change the culture and the practices, and that should be factored in the initiative, the product design, the solution design, and let's call it AI transformation of the company. Phased implementation, just like with every other software product, it helps if you can do baby steps. It helps if you can have quick wins, identifying a tiny little project, AI project or agentic project, that can demonstrate value and that could be built for reasonable budget, helps dramatically. It helps building trust. It helps conveying the vision. It helps figuring out budgets. Generally, it helps. Again, this is an old stuff, right? We typically do that with every R&D heavy software development project, software project, information, I'd rather say, project. Now, on the technical side, designed for simplicity, which means these days, all of those large vendors, think OpenAI, Microsoft, who else are there? Anthropic, others. They still work hard to vendor lock you. They want to hook you on their in their ecosystem, and you need to resist it. There are ways of making sure that you can easily swap the LLM, for example, or you can easily swap the agentic platform. And as an example, swapping the LLM, we build the systems, AI systems, for which swapping the LLM takes less than 2 hours. So if you want to migrate from one cloud provider to another, one LLM provider to another, that takes you less than 2 hours, and that requires changing maybe less than 5 lines of code, if any at all. So we need to embrace this fluid environment. It's an emergent technology, right? And well, today it wouldn't be very wise to design something to last. Instead, let's embrace agility. Let's design for simplicity. Let's design for transferability. Let's embrace the let's anticipate the migrations, and let's keep this whole thing as simple as possible. Ground in reality. Although some of those agents offer you the ground vision, make sure that this ground vision actually corresponds to what you see on the ground. If there is, if someone or something tells you that you can fire your entire software engineering department and replace this department with 5 agents, just be wary about it. Probably it's daydreaming. Probably it's not real. Finally, guardrails. Whenever the system goes live and whenever the system deals with real life data and real life users, you absolutely want to make sure that whatever the system provides, whatever the system generates is safe. There are lots and lots of guardrail technologies, starting with simple parsers, applying the same LLMs as the kind of the oversight LLMs to make sure that the agentic system doesn't do harm, and ending up with the human in the loop. From our experience, the parsing and the access rights, obviously, and the human in the loop is the most reliable, are the most reliable guardrails, as always, right? Just like with every other automated system, you don't want to give it more access rights than absolutely necessary. You want to have alerts in place whenever the system does something that it shouldn't be doing. You want to learn about that at once, and you want to have someone to keep an eye on the system. That's on the technical side. And that's the conclusion. That's something that that's kind of the take-home message that we wanted to convey to you. First, beware the hype. Remember the rentgenologist. 8 years of beating them in the on the various benchmarks didn't drive them out of the market. They remain most in demand medical profession, and I bet you software engineers are going to be there as well. Software engineers are not going to disappear. Their work might change, but just remember the rentgenologists. The focus on enterprise value. Don't fall into this 95% bucket. Keep an eye on the P&L. Make sure that the initiatives have the link to the financial values, to something they can demonstrate. Otherwise, the MIT report kind of warns you about the possible future. The learning gap, the talent shortage is real, and we really need to learn fast. Use hackathons, use workshops, use other means of training your people to use those tools, have the internal practices, have the knowledge sharing groups, anything that could help people to get up to speed with AI tools and also share their experience, definitely help. And pick high impact use cases. Whenever you think about the AI initiatives, make sure that they deliver the value that's going to be visible with your industry and with your company. And to conclude, a few words about our possible help, about what we can do for you. We can help you figure out the AI readiness and strategy. AI requires a technology management approach. Buy versus build is a big question, right? We can help you figure it out, and we can explain you how you can take it. Data preparation. If you want to train or apply your own data for these systems, you want to make sure that the data is correct, structured, and also it doesn't contain something like PII, uh, personally identifiable information. You want to be compliant, especially if you're in healthcare, or if you're in Europe, we have GDPR, we have other things. We can help you with conventional machine learning and model development, Gen AI system integration, process automation, and general software development. And finally, as the last question, after all this talking of mine, how likely you are um, to take the next step in implementing your AI agents? That could also be your first steps. How likely you are to take on this journey at all? Again, scale from 0 to 1, where 0 is not likely at all and 10 is very likely. So my team will show the results. Yes, super. All right, we have 10 out of 10 for 58% of attendees. I take it personally. Glad. Obviously, I might be delusional, but I hope that this webinar contributed to this high number. And we also have other numbers for the scores 6 to 10, and we have absolutely no response for the scores from 1 to 5, meaning all of the attendees are interested to some extent in taking next steps with agentic AI. So thank you very much. And um, it's the time to ask questions. So if you have anything to ask, then I'm going to spend those remaining couple of minutes to answer the questions. Otherwise, remember that you can reach out to us, to our engagement team, to schedule a one-to-one it's called consultation, one-to-one communication, where we can take a deeper look at what you guys are trying to build and what challenges you have. All right. The question that I have, the first question is about what are some practical steps to safely deploy AI agents without overcomplicating infrastructure? Um, Start simple and build it incrementally. Baby steps is a king. It's our best approach. Use serverless and containerization. LLMs could drive the cost really high, and the clouds do their best to get as much money from you as they possibly could. So make sure that you have good cloud architect and you understand how to drive the cost down if you use the cloud infrastructure. And there are lots of low code, no code platforms for prototyping, such as N8N. Use them. They are cheap. Sometimes they're even free. You can prototype something for pennies, sometimes even for free, and see whether it works or not. The next question is, I've heard about AI agents getting replaced by agent swarms. That's probably a whole other topic, but can you give a quick explanation of the difference? Um, I've I haven't heard about that, frankly. I don't know what agent swarm is, and to me it might look like another multi-agent system, which is which is fine. But remember about this error accumulation. If you stack those agents together, they will accumulate the error. Another concept of the agent swarm could be replace one agent with 5 agents doing the same thing and then average their results. That could be an interesting approach to risk management. If one agent is wrong, then the other agent probably is going to be right. That could mitigate the error, but that would dramatically increase the costs of running this whole system, because now for every task you need to run not one agentic system, but effectively 5 agentic systems, and stuff like that. But frankly speaking, I don't know what agent swarms are, and I've been taking this from the top of my head right now. The next question is, are there AI programs that create agents for us? Yeah, lots of them. Those low code, no code platforms such as N8N. Every major cloud these days offer their own version of the agentic programs, low code, no code agentic programs. At Azure, it's going to be, I guess they call it Copilot. At Google Cloud, it's going to be Vertex, and I don't remember what is there at AWS, but they have something as well. And the quick way for you to figure that out would be no code agent, build agent no code or something like that. This query in Google would give you tons and tons of various systems that you can try. Now, the next question is how to identify whether a project qualifies a high risk in terms of compliance regulations. Oh, we can spend another hour talking about this. I mean, high risk. I suspect we're talking about the EU AI Act, right? This new concept of high risk AI project has been introduced by EU AI Act, and they define certain domains and use cases as high risk. That would be, for example, biometric identification, critical infrastructure, education, employment, law enforcement, migration, justice, I mean, administration of justice, critical services, and so on. So there's a whole list of those use cases and industries that EU AI Act provides that is identified as high risk. And for those high risk systems, they require to be handled properly. Mostly that deals with logging the information, human oversight, human control over the decision making, so on and so forth. The idea, the whole philosophy of EU AI Act is that for some use cases we shouldn't allow automated decision making. We still that's the narrative, right? Everything else stems from this narrative. The next question is: will you be sharing the deck with the attendees? Yes, absolutely. My team will send the deck to all the attendees after the webinar is done. And finally, we have the suggestion. The help. Someone helps me with Agent Core at AWS. This is the extension to my answer to those low-code, no-code tools that the major clouds provide. Yeah, at AWS, that's Agent Core. Thanks a lot. And the last question in the list at least. If you are working in an NGO, can you recommend 3 agents they can use? Well, all NGOs are so different, so it really depends on what kind of NGO and what exactly you're trying to achieve. It's quite hard to me to recommend something specifically for the NGOs because, oh, helping the homeless. Thanks. Um, Helping the homeless and agents. Hmm. Getting back to these fundamentals, right? Those agents are good at crunching numbers. So if you, I'm not familiar with helping the home with this specific niche. So I might be talking something which is which is not true. But if there is a lot of information that you need to crunch as a part of your everyday job, then look at the LLM or the agent that will help you with that, right? That could be maybe the government reports on the homelessness. That could be some shelter reports, anything like that. So if there is a lot of information that you would ideally process to allocate your efforts effectively, but it takes too long today, for example, or you just can't afford it because it is too labor intensive, then crunching this information, crunching this data, and presenting you with the summaries would be a good starting point for the agentic application. But I do want to stress that I'm not familiar with the topic. Oh, bitte. It seems like Monica speaks German. All right. Oh, I don't have any questions open anymore. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much for your questions. Ah, Monica is from Austria. Oh, that's great. Super. Thank you very much for participation. Thank you very much for your attendance. Looking forward to hearing back from you. Again, email us at engagement@advantage.com to ask any follow-up questions and schedule the one-to-one conversation. We'll be happy to jump on that call and have in-depth conversation with you about your needs. On that, thanks a lot for attending and have a wonderful end of the day. Bye-bye.